Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's your first time here. And I am so excited for today's video. If you follow me on Instagram, then you know that I've been wanting to focus more on YouTube and creating content here. So I'm really excited to kick off 2024 with this video specifically because if anyone told me that I was going to be in Japan at the beginning of 2024, I would have never ever believed you. I would have said you have me mistaken for someone else and there's just no way. But by the title of this video, I did it. I went to Japan, had the most amazing stationery dreams come to life, come true, and I have an epic haul to show for it. I'll give you a little bit of a backstory and how it came to be that I went to Japan for 5 days. This video is going to be a long one, so I hope you can forgive me if you see me reading my notes and just staying on track here to get this video as concise as possible, but it's going to be a long one. If you're here from Instagram and you just want to see the haul, that is pretty much going to be the full visual of this video, but I will have some clips from my Instagram stories that I saved, inputting some clips of the stationery shops that I went to, some views of Japan, and just my overall experience. So what to expect in today's video is just me talking about my experience in Japan over 5 days, the stationery shops, and my experiences shopping there, and then of course tips and tricks. Not exactly tricks, mostly just tips on how to have the best time shopping for stationery in Japan. I'm going to start with a little bit of backstory here, and that is in mid-January, I was on a trip with my family. Now, my uncle works for an airline, and there had been some talk already since before Christmas about how my uncle needs to use up his travel passes before they all expire and renew January 31st. My uncle and my aunt were going to be using up some travel passes and had a 5-day trip planned for Japan. Now, I've known about this for the past couple of months. I just didn't think anything of it because I've got 2 kids in school, my husband, how were we all going to be able to go to Japan? So knowing that we weren't going to go as a family, it just kind of ended there. I never thought that I would get to go by myself for the first time, being away from my kids, solo traveling apart from my now family, and getting to go with my uncle, aunt, another aunt, and my mom. So I just really didn't think it was going to be a possibility. Anyways, long story short, and by the title of this video, I went, I saw, and I shopped. I shopped hard. So another part of the backstory is that it was not my first time going to Japan. I actually did have an opportunity in 2017 to live in Japan. So I lived in Japan for a year, but I wasn't into journaling yet. I had no idea about journaling and all that it's done for me now and all that it could do back then. I had no idea about Traveler's Company, and I know such a huge bummer. And so this trip, even though it was very short, felt like my time to redeem myself in terms of stationery, my obsession and love for Traveler's Company. And so that's why, even with all the stress and very quick trip, I endured and went through all the travel. In just 11 days, I went on 8 flights. And that's because it had to be through my uncle's airline. I had to fly from Italy, where I live now, to California, where my family lives, then go from California to Japan and do all of that in reverse, all in 11 days. So my actual time in Japan was 5 days, technically 3 days, 3 full days, and 2 travel days when you count coming in, arriving, and then departing. So that's the backstory there. Now, I told my family that my intention was purely stationery redemption. I just couldn't believe that I was so close to so many of my favorite shops now, my favorite brands, in the year that I was living in Japan, and just had no idea. I was literally only 6 months apart from me discovering journaling as a hobby and the time that I moved out of Japan. So it was so close. It could have been a great thing to start and discover in Japan. but alas, I didn't, and so this was a huge redemption. Anyways, I will get into showing the hauls now and getting into my experiences and tips and advice for shopping stationery in Japan. During my trip, I visited very noteworthy stores like the Traveler's Factory. I went to 2 locations, Tokyo Station and the flagship store in Nakameguro. I also went to Starbucks Reserve Roastery, then to Itoya in Ginza, and many different stores from Loft. The biggest one is Loft in Ginza, but I also went to as many Loft stores as I could that I just happened to be nearby, and that is because a lot of chain stores will have different items in their shops. Leading into my number 1 tip, do yourself a favor and visit a 100 yen shop first. And yes, Daiso counts, but don't visit Daiso first. I know there are a handful of Daisos all over the US now, but if you don't have one near you and that is something that you'd like to go visit, definitely stop by a Daiso. It counts as a 100 yen store, but try visiting the other ones first, like Seria, where I went to, or 𝘕𝘕 is another one. I'm sure there are a ton of other stores that I just am not aware of. So if you know about more 100 yen chain stores, please leave the names of them down below for everyone to enjoy. So why I say you should visit a 100 yen store first is because as of today, when I'm filming this, February 6th of 2024, the yen is weak. Sad for the yen, but great for everyone whose home currency is the US dollar or even euro. And that is because 100 yen is equal to 67 US cents or 63 euro cents. And yes, everything in the shop is 100 yen. It is just going to be priced that way. With the Japanese consumer tax, it's going to be about 108 yen. It might be a little bit more than that. I'm not exactly sure, but pre-tax, everything's going to be 100 yen. So I bought stacks and stacks of stickers for only 67 cents a piece. And I don't think you can find stickers anywhere of the Japanese quality and the images and illustrations for 67 cents. A lot of the designs are comparable to some of the designs and stickers you'll see at the other chain stores like Loft, Tokyo Hands, Maruzen, but they're not going to be branded. If you're hoping to come across a very specific character or illustrator's work, then you will have to go to places like Loft, Tokyo Hands, or Maruzen. Also Kinokuniya. But seriously, do yourself a favor, visit a 100 yen shop first. Grab a tote bag since you're already there. They're also 100 yen, and fill it up with post-it notes, stickers, envelopes, letter writing sets, pens, other paper, notebooks. Seriously, there is so much there. Save the branded name stuff, of course, for places like Loft and Itoya. Now, the next tips aren't in any specific order. I just had to say the 100 yen store as number 1. If there's anything you're going to take away from this video, is please do not skip on visiting 100 yen shops. But everything else that follows is just a tip based on my experience. So not in any specific order, we'll talk about Traveler's Company next. My most important tip is nothing really special, something that probably everyone's already going to do, and that is just to make a wish list, have it on your phone and ready for you to shop when you visit a Traveler's Factory store, because seriously, it is so overwhelming. There is so much packed in such a small storefront and sales area that everything is literally in every nook and cranny. I almost missed on a full section of my wish list because it was tucked under the table in the shadows, and I had no idea that it was even there. And then when I saw it right before checkout, I was so glad I did, because when I went to a different Traveler's Factory location, they were completely sold out at that second location. So this brings me into my next Traveler's Company tip, probably my biggest one in terms of shopping at Traveler's Factory, and that is to visit any other location first than the flagship location, which is Traveler's Factory Nakameguro. And that is because so much traffic goes towards Nakameguro. Because it's the flagship store, I'm sure they stock it really well, but it's also probably the most visited. Not to mention, it's Actually, no. I was gonna say it's the biggest one, but Kyoto is the biggest one. But if you're only staying in Tokyo, then you won't be able to visit the Travelers Factory Kyoto store location. So I visited the Tokyo station first, and I'm so glad I did because I went absolutely ham in buying everything on my wish list. Now, there are going to be specific items that you can only find at specific locations. Like the Tokyo station has inserts special for the Tokyo station and a TN that you can only purchase at that location. But everything else you'll be able to find at any Travelers Factory. And this is why I highly recommend visiting any location other than the flagship store. And that is because you will probably and most likely find the other locations the most stocked because of how much and how fast things sell out at the Nakameguro location. This is also information that has been bounced back from me from others who've experienced this as well. So I went to Tokyo Station first, and then the next day I went to the Nakameguro location, and the Nakameguro flagship location was picked through and very scarce. Things like superior labor heart patches that I really wanted were at neither location, but there were a lot more superior labor brass charms available at the Tokyo Station location. And then things like the Superior Labor Travelers Factory collaboration canvas pouch that was completely sold out in all of the big sizes, and then all of the olive color was gone at the flagship store. I was able to pick it up at the Tokyo Station store, and they looked like I'm sure that contributed to just all of the foot traffic. It was very packed and tight, and with the other locations in Tokyo, like at the Narita Airport and Tokyo Station, they are underground and within all of these shopping booths. And so there is an open feel to the shopping area of Tokyo Station and Narita Airport. For the Nakameguro, it is its own standing building, and so you are confined to those walls, and it gets really tight and claustrophobic and feels really enclosed when there are so many shoppers in there. At the Tokyo Station location, I was really lucky to be shopping by myself for about 5-10 minutes. And then after that, the rest of my stay, it was also very crowded. But because it was in an open space, people were able to get out of the way, kind of like go around the outside pillar and then come back into the shop. But the shop and sales floor is just so small in general that you can't really get too far without bumping into somebody else already. But even more so when you are enclosed in the Nakameguro sales floor. It's voiceover jazz popping in because I have way too much footage of my haul and unboxing, so I'm going to just pop on some music for you while you enjoy watching the rest of my Tokyo Station haul. I will come right back with my tips for the Nakameguro location next. I still do recommend stopping by the flagship location, and that is because they have the most immaculate vibes set for travelers. It's just part of their branding, right? It's for the traveler. And so they have a beautiful second floor that you can order coffee and just lounge and enjoy. I recommend, if you have any family members waiting for you while you shop, to send them up there and they can just enjoy the couch and have some coffee to drink while they wait for you to shop. And then you, of course, can rest after all of your shopping. And it's a good place to wait too if the stamping counter is busy. You can go ahead and wait upstairs. I was lucky enough to have maybe half an hour up there by myself, and it was seriously a dream come true, even just sitting there and seeing myself in that room. And I took pictures and a video of myself just to remember the moment, and it is probably one of my most favorite videos. Even if it's just me doing nothing, looking busy, the fact that I'm sitting in that room is just so special to me. I did pick up coffee. I picked the Traveler's Blend, and it was a medium roast, and just getting to enjoy that made me so happy. So I did mention that it was not my first time traveling in Japan, and I heard from others that the Nakameguro location is actually really hard to find, and that's because it feels and looks like it's in a residential area. Because I have experience navigating and traveling around Japan, it was fairly easy for me to find, but I can see how it would be difficult for someone who can't read the map. Maybe you're not versed in following directions. It could be very hard to find. So I recommend going to the Travelers Company websites. They have so many infographics there, and their directions are going to be the most detailed in terms of finding their shop. If you just follow Google Maps, it might work for the flagship location, but it's going to be extremely hard when you're trying to find the Tokyo Station and Narita location, because they're inside of a building or a train station or the airport where there are multiple floors and levels, and map apps just can't comprehend what floor you're on in a building. So I highly recommend going to the Travelers Company website, saving those infographics, taking a screenshot, and just looking up those things ahead of time, so that once you're in it and you're kind of panicked and you're stressed, you can kind of pull back and say, wait, I remember I have an infographic for this. If you ask someone, they will absolutely help you. I have found, even from my experience in 2017 all the way now to 2024, 7 years later, the Japanese people are so kind that they will walk you all the way to where you need to go if they feel they cannot properly give you directions in English. Next place I'd like to talk about is the Starbucks Reserve Roastery, my favorite visit or place that I went to in my 5 days in Japan, and out of all the stationery places. And that's because that is where my love for coffee and stationery met. And although I did get to enjoy coffee at the Nakameguro Travelers Factory location, I don't think you can beat the 4 levels of Starbucks Roastery and just getting to smell fresh coffee beans being roasted while enjoying special limited edition Starbucks Travelers Factory inserts and TNs. So I went to the Starbucks Reserve on a Sunday. I highly recommend you try to fit it on a weekday if you can, but regardless of what day you go, try to go before 10 a.m. Starbucks Reserve is known for having a very, very long wait list of up to 4+ hours. My aunt, who lives in Japan, had attempted to visit the I keep saying travelers because I just finished talking about it. My aunt in Japan attempted to visit the Starbucks Reserve 3 separate times on 3 different occasions, and she never went in because of how long the wait was. But finally, she was able to enter and enjoy when she went with us, because we went very early, or we tried to go very early. It was actually about a 40-minute journey by train to get to Nakameguro Station, and then it was a 15-minute walk. And so we got there at 10 a.m. and there was no queue yet. My aunt had actually spoken to the staff and said that they usually start getting waitlist or having to queue people in line around 10:30 to 11. We got there at 10, we left at 12:30, and on the way out at 12:30, the waitlist was for a 40-minute wait. So not too bad for 40 minutes, but even so, if you did the math, I got there at 10, left at 12:30. We spent 2.5 hours there. If you have to wait 40 minutes or even an hour to get in, and then you spend another minimum an hour and a half inside, it's going to take a huge chunk of your day. So the earlier you can go and prevent having to wait in a line, the sooner you can get out. There is just so much to enjoy there. I think I spent 30 minutes shopping the sales floor, including looking at other merchandise that they had, about another 30 minutes waiting in line to order my drink and then wait for it to be made, and then maybe 15 minutes to order food and wait for that to be made. And that is because everything has a separate line and register. So for drinks, it was at one register. For food was a different one. For pastries was a different one. So it took about an hour when you add up shopping, ordering a drink, ordering food. It took about an hour to finally sit down and enjoy the area and just eat and enjoy the view. We actually sat outside even though it was cold because they had heaters around everyone. They also had blankets. It was seriously such a vibe, and I wish I could go again. Even if you're not a coffee drinker, their second floor is all about tea, so that was wonderful. One thing about the Starbucks Reserve is that they did not limit purchases of any of the Traveler's Factory items. And I mention this because at the Traveler's Factory Tokyo Station, there was a limit on the Tokyo Station inserts. So a limit of 2 per design. The TN was a limit of 1. The Superior Labor Traveler's Factory collaboration canvas pouches were a limit of 1 per size, so you were allowed to buy 1 medium and 1 small if there was stock available. This kind of is important to know because at the Starbucks Reserve, at least you can buy as many as you want, but when you're at the Traveler's Factory, maybe don't send your family away to go sit at a coffee shop or to shop elsewhere. You might need them to help you buy maybe 1 or 2 items. So that is something that is important to note because I feel like most of us would want to be able to enjoy and shop freely without interruption and really enjoy these places like Traveler's Factory. Maybe don't send your family so far away. If you didn't already know, Japan's transportation system is massive, highly efficient, and friendly once you get the hang of it. But we already know that they are superior when it comes to the world of stationery. But did you know that a majority of train stations have their own collectible stamp? Now, I've seen so many videos upon videos about train station stamps, and what most people don't mention is how incredibly hard it actually is to find these free collectible stamps. Now, it's going to be attached to a podium. The stamp is chained and locked to that podium. A lot of the times it's public and just open and free to use. So even if there isn't someone available at the information train center, it's likely that the stamp is just out and about for you to use. Most of the stamps will be public near the information center next to a ticketing computer. But if you can't find it, you can always ask the information center staff. But if you're like me and really shy, I would have rather not asked than asked and just like not gotten a stamp. But when you are traveling Japan, you're going to go through so many train stations. You're going to want to try and collect as many stamps as you can, but the reality is that it can be really hard to find, and some stations are huge. They're enormous. The Shibuya station, I think, has multiple design stamps, and so if you're wanting to collect all of those, then you're going to have to travel and walk miles of the train station maybe to get from one exit to the other. But my tips for collecting stamps is, number one, first have an insert or a notebook or a journal already with you, because you'll be able to collect stamps at the airport as well. I know for sure Haneda Airport has one. I'm pretty sure Narita Airport has one. Even if not, you can go to the Traveler's Factory and get a Narita stamp, probably there. But make sure you have something to stamp on. I didn't have a single insert. I plan to buy all my inserts at the Traveler's Factory, but I should have had something already with me when I was flying in. Number two is to look up online blogs, because there are so many blogs already that have what each stamp looks like, where they could possibly be located if things haven't changed. A lot of the blogs are outdated, but still relevant. And then number three, not really tip, just advice, is just kind of accept that it's going to be really hard to find stamps. I wouldn't spend too much time, because there's just so much that could be enjoyed in Tokyo. I don't think you want to spend 20 minutes looking for a stamp, and maybe your travel partners won't be too happy with that. But instead, focus on the specific stamps that you really want to collect. So for me, I prioritized the train station stamp near our accommodation. It was the train station that we were going to be used every morning and coming back to every night. So it was really important for me to try and get that train station stamp. Even though it was a smaller train station, they still had a stamp. And then I wanted to prioritize the Tokyo Station stamp, actually, but personally I just felt bad for making my family wait so long already while I was shopping at the Traveler's Factory, that I didn't want to drag them all around the station to go find a free public stamp. But my advice for the train station stamps is just to kind of have a list of which ones you prioritize, and then just see if you happen to come across any of them. It's really fun to have all of your family kind of in on it. By the end of our 5 days, my family, every time we got out of the train station, were all like looking around and trying to see if they could find the stamp for me. So that was really nice, kind, and fun. I want to talk about my experiences at other shops like Loft and Itoya. Unfortunately, I didn't get to visit shops like Marzan and Kinokuniya. I wish I could, but 5 days just isn't enough time, so hopefully you'll be able to add them to your list. But my experience at Loft, I had heard so much about it, and to be honest, I was a little disappointed. It's an all-around general store. You'll find everything there. You'll find beauty products, skincare. You'll find, I think, luggage or even just bags. But anyways, they had a floor all dedicated to stationery. And while there was a lot of stationery, it was mostly geared towards a lot of pens and paper. They did have some deco things, and Loft is where you're going to find some illustrations like Bread Thief, Mofu Sand, I think, which is the little cute little cats. But I found that what I was specifically searching for were things like food stickers, some kawaii stickers, which I did find. I was just a little disappointed that their sticker selection wasn't as huge as I expected and thought it was going to be. They had everything under the category of stationery, so you know, it kind of makes sense that they had to fit a little bit of everything. And so when it did get to the sticker selection, it was just like half an aisle, for example. But there were aisles and aisles of pens and highlighters and tools, paper, letter sets, different notebooks, everything. So it was definitely a great place to window shop and look for stationery. I specifically was just really after sticker sheets during my trip in Japan, and so which is why I really gravitated towards places like Seria and the 100 yen shops. But I don't regret any of my purchases from Loft. I just probably wouldn't have shopped the sticker sheets as much had I visited the 100 yen store first, because I found the quality to be similar. I found the illustrations to be similar, if not cuter. I liked the ones at the 100 yen store more. And so in hindsight, whenever I came across a sticker sheet at Loft, I felt like I had to buy it because I had come across so few sticker sheets at that point, and not a lot of them were in the style that I wanted, that when I did find something my style, I grabbed one or two of them. Then fast forward to my last day where I went to the 100 yen shop and I found everything that I was hoping to find there, and I bought everything. I bought it all. So that's why my recommendation and tips are to visit the 100 yen store first, because you will likely find what you're looking for there, and then you can kind of fill in the gaps by visiting stores like Loft and Tokyo Hands. The store I want to talk about is Itoya. Itoya is a huge brand. They are, I believe, an umbrella brand for a lot of other businesses and stores, and they partner with a lot of brands. And so you'll find things like fountain pens, stamps, craft supplies, scrapbooking things, so many pens and papers, journals, leather goods, all at Itoya. And there's a second building with more levels of stationery, but I only went through the 8 floors at the Itoya Ginza. I did not go to the second building outside of it, that's not attached to the original building. Anyways, I personally felt like the Itoya was more of like a stationery museum. All the items they had inside were items I also saw at Loft and all of the other stores. The one thing that I did actually shop for at Itoya were postcards. There were so many more illustrations of postcards that I personally enjoyed at Itoya, and that's what I purchased. But they have so much. It's really beautiful to go look at. I kind of knew ahead of time that I wasn't going to buy a fountain pen. I was really hoping to, but I knew that the Itoya fountain pen level was mostly going to sell permanent collection pens. Everything was pretty much the baseline collection for pens from Sailor, Platinum 3776. They had Kavekos, they had Esterbrook, they had so many brands. My advice for going into Itoya is just to really enjoy having so many different types of stationery. But for me personally, it was more like a stationery museum. I really didn't shop there because I had seen all of the items at other stores. I can't speak about the price, if it was the same or cheaper than the other stores like Loft. But the Itoya was really the only place that had an extensive fountain pen collection. With that though, I highly recommend that you research the prices, because Honestly, I was expecting for there to be such a huge price discrepancy at Itoya. I thought things were going to be like so cheap, like dirt cheap. And while a lot of that is true, it is for the base collection that almost every fountain pen retailer will also carry. And I find that a lot of the online retailers now have competitive prices and will even have discounts during like fountain pen day or Black Friday. And so shopping at Itoya wasn't really a huge incentive for shopping at Itoya versus another retailer, for example. I hope all of that made sense. I hope I'm not bursting anyone's bubble about Itoya. Let's move on. I want to talk about some noteworthy stores that you could visit that I didn't get time to visit. The number one place I wish I was able to stop by is called Cute Things from Japan. The next one is called Rainbowholic. I also wanted to visit Atelier Penelope and Yuruliku. There are so many other shops in and around Tokyo. Tokyo is huge, so I think it's really important to try and group places that you can together with monuments, with shopping areas, with other points of interest that you might be curious about, and hopefully you can make the most of your trip. This video has gotten long enough. I hope everything was useful information for you if you are trying to go to Japan. Maybe you already went to Japan and you miss it and you just wanted to hear about my experience and what I had to say about it. And maybe you just wanted to see the haul video and what I picked up in Japan. Thanks for watching, and I will see more of you throughout this year in my YouTube videos. Thank you. Bye.